Okay, on today's edition of Freebird Racing Channel, we go over the aftermath of our test at Farmington Dragway. Uh, did a cool little wheelie, had some fun there, hung out with some old friends and things like that. But we wound up hurting the car, wound up breaking a cylinder head. Everything else looks good, but definitely broke a head. We did get to the finish line first, so that took a little bit of the sting out, but still broke the car. Freebird uses one of two turbos, either an 80 millimeter works unit or a 106 millimeter on 3 with two VS gates. The headers are Flotex, the cheap ones that you can buy about anywhere. Cut the ends off of them because I think they had 3-inch ends on them, and they use Motion Raceworks 2.5-inch merges. The intake is a Holley high ram LS3 style manifold with 575 pound billet atomizer injectors and actually a Ford throttle body by Holley that I've welded a flange onto the high ram with and ported that out to make it all work properly. At the time that I built this, they didn't have a 105 millimeter for these things. It also has a set of 90 pound per hour shorties in the bottom of the intake between the runners because this car was originally supposed to be a drag and drive piece, so it was going to use gasoline on the inside injectors and alcohol on the external injectors, so I wouldn't have to run an intercooler. You'll also notice that the car does have a dry sump. When later in the video, when we show down in the valley, you'll see that it's got really small drain backs, and the original motor we had in the car had some trouble with oiling because the oil was getting trapped in the top of the motor and not getting back down to the sump quick enough. So we switched over to a dry sump to alleviate that problem. You'll also notice whenever I took the valley cover off of it, there was a tube in the bottom. That's one of the pickups from the dry sump. Pulls the oil out of the valley. I do still run a alternator on this car. I could probably get rid of it and put another battery in the back of it, but it seems simple enough, and the only time it ever throws the belts whenever it really knocks the tire off and bangs off the limiter pretty good, but it usually handles it pretty well and doesn't kick the belt, but we keep spares. This is the area that I was referring to down in the valley or whatever. You can notice how small the drain back holes are. Some people enlarge them, some people leave them like that, some people plug them and drain them out kind of like I do. But that's what I was referring to, and even I'm sucking oil out of the lifter area there, and I wound up all that area plus the valve cover area was about 3/4 of a quart that was trapped up there just sitting. I run Jessel rockers on this particular motor. The short block is from 3V Performance, a 388 inch LS Next block. Had zero trouble out of it. These heads are about 2.5, 3 seasons old, and I guess they just finally gave up.
Go ahead. Okay, so here's the aftermath of our testing session. See, there's no real damage to the block that we can see right here. Pistons are all good. Everything looks still pretty happy except for the cylinder head. Honda's badass stuff. Pretty rugged. Like I said, you don't see any issues down there. With all the clanging and banging that went around that broke the cylinder head, we're going to take it apart and check the rods and bearings and whatnot, just make sure everything's still good before we put it back together and put it back in the car. But that's kind of what it looks at right now. Here's the head gasket. It actually even creased it right there where it sat back down a few times, I guess, and pinched it up in there. But you see the gasket's pretty well out of shape. Yeah, it's pretty normal till you get down to the bottom row where it broke. And here's the part that probably everybody was waiting to see. Is the cylinder head itself. These are dark LS3 pieces, and it broke 3 out of the 4. Only good one is still this one. The rest of them broke pretty severely. Even mangled up the hoop.
That's about it for this episode. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I'm going to go on the hunt for a set of cylinder heads for this thing and try to get back out to a track near you. If you have any thoughts or feelings about it, comment below.